Greetings, YouTube, and welcome to the Blue Corner. Today's episode, we're going to be doing a deck profile, and it's going to be of the Blue Star Hero deck that I ran at Locals this past weekend. Now, why did I choose to rebuild this deck? Well, one reason was I was asked if I would rebuild my skill drain heroes. And I thought about it, and like, you know what, I do want to play heroes again. But I would not run skill drain heroes, and that's because I just don't think that is as good as a straight up hero deck at this moment. Skill Drain is alright, but Skill Drain requires you to run cards like Dark Bribe to protect it, cards like Beast King Barbaros to take advantage of it, and honestly, I just wanted to run more cards that were less dependent on other things in the deck. Secondly, Chaos Dragon and Dark World are decks, and they're most frequently played at my locals, so I didn't want to run cards that were absolutely useless in those matchups. Thus, I just decided to relegate Skill Drain to my side deck, and just run stuff in the main deck that is more useful in multiple situations. Now, this deck has not been altered just yet. I am waiting on the Heroic Champion Excalibur tin to come out and the Return of the Duelist sneak peek to occur before I can make alterations, because I want to try the promo card, and I obviously want Heroic Champion Excalibur for this deck. That being said, the lineup consists of Stratos and 3 Alias. That's your typical stuff for heroes, and then one tech copy of Bubbleman. I mentioned this in my 100 card hero profile, why I like running them on Bubbleman. There are those times where you can just simply drop it alongside your Stratos, your Alias, and just go into a Blade Armor Ninja or another rank 4 of your choice. More than once too much for straight up hero beat, but I just happen to like the one of Bubbleman. Although I am probably going to drop him for the Noble Knight Gawain, just because there are those times where I will have an Alias on the field and like other monsters in hand, and I can't summon Bubbleman, but at least Gawain I can just drop. But yeah, it was very nice, very useful, and also enables access to Absolute Zero. 2 copies of Thunder King Ryo. This card is suddenly becoming good again, especially if the next format is going to be as we all think. He's terrible against Inzectors. Oops, why is that in there? Sorry. Yeah, he's terrible against Inzectors, but with Rabbit and Hero being very common matchups, he does a little bit of stonewalling against them. And again, if the Banlist turns out to be the way we think it is, then Thunder King Ryo is going to be very good at the start of the format, because people are going to be playing Rabbit and Heroes. And then the only deck he's terrible against is Dark World, which you would kind of side him out for. But 1900 stops Pot of Duality, stops inherent special summons, makes players do bad things when they get around them. 2 copies of Effect Veiler. I may not be running Skill Drain, but I still want to run something that does negate monster effects, and Veiler is my go-to card. You know, stopping stuff like Inzector Pops, or making that Rabbit not be able to summon stuff, that kind of thing. Veiler is just always a useful card, and it's a light for Shiny. And then my one troll card, Neospatian Granville. Zenmaze is a problem card for this deck, so what do? Bounce that shit out of here. Shien, bounce it out of here. Logia, better negate this, otherwise I'm bouncing it out of there. Granville just solves any major threat monster. The problem with him is just he's a little slow, and he does cost your normal summon, but if you're willing to work around that, Granville is a great 1-for-1 type card. That's it for the monsters. Very, very small lineup, but that's typical for Hero Stun. Then for the spells, I am running the staple stuff: 3 Pot, 3 Spark, 3 Miracle Fusion, 2 Ecall, Book, Dark Hole, Storm, Reborn, and Rhoda. Those are all the obvious ones. And then just 1 copy of Super Polymerization. I know you guys will be asking, why am I not running 2? It's such a broken card now that you have Escariota out, yada 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 yada. And I know that. I mean, this card pretty much gets rid of anything on the field. Problem is, it's also a huge -1. I mean, think about it this way: you're giving up a card from your hand, this card, and a hero just to get rid of 1 monster on your opponent's side of the field. That's a lot of resources just to get rid of 1 monster. I mean, it's unchainable. I know that much. But I would still not run more than 1 at this moment, because again, it just eats up resources like no tomorrow, and you're asking me to run 2 cards that are basically burning up 6 resources in order to get rid of 2 things my opponent has. I don't know. I mean, I will side deck it in for games where I really do need to get that stuff on the field, but for game 1, no. I think 1's just enough for now. And then onto my traps. 2 Bottomless, this card's great. 2 Hero Blast, this card's awesome. 2 Prison, this card's amazing. Yeah. I list this card, it's amazing. I list this card, it's amazing. This card, it's awesome. This card, it's good. This card, it's iffy. I did get to it a lot, and I did set it down. The only time I ever got Heavy Storm was when I didn't have Starlight Road, and that was because I started it out against Dark World. And yeah, kind of regret that, but I still won. Dark World's a very difficult matchup, but it can be beat if you know what you're doing and if you side deck proper. We'll get to my side in a moment, though. First up, my extra deck, which consists of 2 Shining, Ab-Zero, Escriado. This card is amazing. I mean, its effect is mediocre, but being able to get over shit like Grapha or Darkness Metal Dragon is a huge boon for the deck now, and Escriado helps in that regard. Anyway, Escriado, 1 Tornado, Nova Master, and Gaia. Just 2 Shining and 1 of the other ones. No need to run double Absolute Zero unless you're like running multiple Bubblemen. Then 1 Stardust Dragon as my Starlight Road guy. Yeah. Then 2 copies of Blade Armor Ninja. Didn't get to it that often, but it is still there for when you have 2 heroes and you need to do some quick damage. 1 copy of Utopia, standard. 1 copy of Utopia Ray. This card was never used at all. This is going to be going for Heroic Champion Excalibur. I definitely feel that. 1 copy of Maestroke, arguably the best rank 4 in the game. Polyoperative. You're going to hide behind a Spear Reaper? I think not. And then Steelstorm Roach, who can single-handedly win you the Heretic matchup if you can back this up with a Thunder King or something like that. Then for the side deck is a huge part in how you get around your tough matchups. Chaos Dragon, Dark World, decks that normally will Ruffle Stomp heroes, if you side deck well enough, you'll beat them. And what I ran in my side was 2 copies of Skill Drain. I may not be main decking it, but I'm definitely going to be siding it because there are those matchups where this thing wrecks. Heretics would be a good one. If you can put out a big hero monster like Shining and then throw up Skill Drain, they can't get over it. They have to banish a card for Darkness Metal Dragon, and if you bottomless or prison that, it's pretty much GG. 2 copies of Shadow Mirror. This is for Insectors, Dark World, and what other deck could I really side this in? But mostly Insector and Dark World. You just use this to stop the Dragonfly and Centipede stuff, or to stop anything that activates in the graveyard for Dark World. 2 copies of MST, because people are like, oh, I'm going to side a Royal Decree and I'll completely destroy your deck. And I'm like, MST that. And then the Royal Decree is no longer a threat. I find it really funny when people do that whole, I list this 1 card that completely trolls your deck, and I'm like, I have an out to that. I mean, this deck has outs to Royal Decree. I don't see why people will think, oh, Royal Decree is the end-all be-all, because it's not. Again, I'll just either MST it, or I'll Gemini Spark it, and your Royal Decree is gone, and then my traps are still playable. 2 copies of Chalice. This can also be used to negate effects under Decree, so that's why I run it in here. 2 copies of Soul Taker, Shining, Pulsar, gets those guys out of the way. 2 copies of Kaiku. Oops. Freaking KMC sleeves. Going back to Ultra Pro. Kaiku. Dark World, Insector, and Chaos Dragons just get their shit out of the graveyard. That way they cannot special summon the dragons. Their Dark Worlds cannot be revived. They can't use gates. Get those Hornets out of the graveyard. Kaiku is my choice to run over Gemini Imps, due to the fact that it not only is effective against Dark World, but it's also effective against those other decks. 2 copies of Maxi to deter people from spamming synchros and stuff, and then 1 copy of Super Polymerization. And that is it for this deck. It is definitely a very good deck, and it would definitely be one of my choices for one of the decks to run in the new format if the Satoshi list turns out to be true. Will I run it? Eventually, I know I will, because I do like Hero Beat. I do. I just simply like this deck. Will I run it immediately? That remains to be seen. I still gotta do some more tinkering around to see what decks I like. So, thank you all for watching. Until next time.